Well, hello, BookTube. Welcome back to my channel. My apologies for my voice. It's been going out on me the last couple days. I did for my work trip. I had to do a lot of teaching to folks, and then I had classes in the evenings I had to teach. And so, over the course of the last week, my voice has just gone out on me. It's better today than it was yesterday, which is saying quite a bit. But I didn't want to let the weekend pass without doing a weekend update video. I didn't get to do Friday reads because my voice just wasn't there and I was just exhausted from the week. But I've had a relatively decent reading week. So the first thing that I want to talk about is I read Meg by Steve Alton, I believe it is. I would hold up my ebook copy of it, but I'm filming on my phone, and that's my e-reader currently, at least until, holiday season maybe. And I enjoyed it. It is not my sort of book at all. It is kind of a horror slash thriller type of thing about very prehistoric predator of the sea. That ruled the sea in the age of the dinosaurs. And one has been discovered and gets free and wreaks all kinds of havoc. And halfway through reading it, I got to thinking that was a perfect Garbogist book. And yeah, it was very, very enjoyable. I want to thank Steve Donahue for putting that one on my radar. I wouldn't have picked it up otherwise, but I did enjoy it. It was a pretty fast-paced read, and that's what I read most of my during my writing times of the commute to and from the work thing, because I was lucky enough to not be the one having to drive in the pretty crappy weather that we had, so I was able to do some reading. And as soon as it got too dark to work my way through my physical book, which I'll talk about that here in a minute, I would pull that up on my phone and read through it and was able to finish it. The next book that I finished is The Quest of the Three Worlds by Cordwainer Smith. It was good. I enjoyed Cordwainer's writing. I'd say good. Nothing spectacular here. I don't think I'd strongly recommend this to anybody, but if you happen to see it, pick it up. It's a good read. You'll enjoy it. A much, much better read that I want to talk about is another book I finished. And that is Lives of Charlemagne by Einard and Noctur the Stammerer. This is my medieval monthly pick for November, and I finished it. I ended up reading Einard in a single day when I picked that up, and I read Noctur in 2 days. Because once I finished Meg, I started in on him with the last little bit of that time I had left on that drive. And then I finished it last night, and really, really enjoyed this. At some point in time, I'll revisit it to read the introductions and the notes and all of that sort. My first time encountering a text like this, I typically just read the text itself, and then I'll hang on to this. This one's definitely staying on the shelf. Although I do have an e-copy of it now. So maybe I'll just hang on to the e-copy of it and pass this along to somebody else, so somebody else can enjoy the wealth of having Lives of Charlemagne, because it was a really enjoyable read. The other thing I finished just today. I haven't finished the entire thing in here, but I did a 24-hour buddy read. Not even 24, like 12-hour buddy read with Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot. And we both read At the Mountains of Madness by Lovecraft, and it had been years since I had read anything by Lovecraft. And I think Sandy said this was only her second Lovecraft that she's read. And I'll let her, she'll talk about it on her channel. We're still talking about it on Voxer a little bit. But I enjoyed it quite a bit. His writing is very different than what I'm used to reading. He's very, very methodical and almost plodding in his pace because he's just taking his time and setting so much of the scene for you and so much of the surroundings and the details. And a lot of it just goes to really evoke the eerie dread that looms over what's happening at the Mountains of Madness. My other copy is up where it was not accessible for me to bring down and show. So I had this, which I'm going to unhaul at some point in time, because all 4 of the stories in here are also in my fancy volume that Michael sent me. But now that I'm thinking about it for this challenge, maybe I should take this up with me and read these 3 other stories so I can say I read another book and cross another one off the list. Yeah, so I think I'll probably do that. Because I don't know that I want to dive all the way into Lovecraft right now. I can do 3 more Lovecraft here soon. So, for the purposes of the 500 book challenge that's going around, there's a few people I think that are joining together. And it was started by Michael K. Vaughan, as he got to crazy thinking based on the 100 book Read What You Own challenge, the platinum level. And when he made his video, I think he was half joking and half serious. And so my response was, if you are serious, I'll join you. Because expectedly, all of the comments on his video were a range of, you'll never make it, I could never do that. And the last thing I wanted was for Michael to try to take it on his own. And as he said, with the 500 book challenge, it's not necessarily about being able to get there, but it's a goal to set, and you see how far you do make it. Do you get to 125 and look back and say, okay, the 100 book was good enough? Or do you make it to 250, 350 and say, I was getting close? It's a multi-year challenge. And it's fascinating. Steve Donahue made a response video today. I'll link it down below, and Michael's video. And he says that he scoffed last year at Ollie's 100 book challenge because of the fact that his library is almost all read. Because Steve Donahue reads faster than the human. He's a robot. He's an AI. And that's how he's able to read so quickly. But for the rest of us, if we get a book haul like he does, a typical mail haul where he might get 2 or 3 advanced copies, plus, a dozen books from the Brattle, he probably reads all that day. If you or I did that, that'd be at least 2 months worth of reading right there. Most likely. And Michael's video had me thinking already of back when I had started my channel a year and a half ago. This shelf right here behind me. Right there. I had those 2 shelves. And the top shelf and the middle shelf on both of these were full. And I had maybe half a dozen books on a bottom shelf. That was it. Now I've got those shelves full, the top of it full, that area back there. I've got 2 more shelves back there. I've got half a shelf over here. I've gotten a lot of books since starting a year and a half ago on BookTube. Some of those were gifts, but I also unhaul pretty regularly. As I'm getting through books I don't want to keep, I'm getting rid of them. So I've probably siphoned out 50, 60 books that aren't on my shelves. And if I didn't, I'd probably have that other half of a shelf full. And so I'm excited about the prospect of doing a 500 book challenge with Michael. And maybe a couple other guest stars. To see how far we get, to motivate and encourage each other, to be strong, to move forward. And it was interesting because Steve asked, how many books do you have that aren't read? I did a count. I've got about 670 books, physical books, of which I've read about 140 of them. I could do the 500 book challenge. That's not even considering, I've got the Chronicles of Amber. Well, that's one bind up, but that's 10 books in there. I've read 2 of the 10, so it's not counting as being read, but as I'm reading it, that'll be 8 books. So I've probably got closer to like 800, maybe 900, if you start divvying it out like that. But anyway, so last week I said I finished this, so this is book 1 for that challenge. Meg is book 2. Einar Noctur, book 3. And Quest of 3 Worlds is book number 4. Here pretty soon, I expect to do the Lovecraft and get that finished. Maybe this weekend. Although there's another book that might be in contention to be finished this weekend. That's probably more likely with Lovecraft coming in the next week. And that is Swords and Deviltry by Fritz Lieber. I just started this tonight, and I'm about 20 pages in, and I'm really, really enjoying this. This is only about 150 pages. Yeah, 150. And I can already tell it's going to fly by. If I hadn't paused to come down and count books, to come down and make a video, if my daughter was sleeping like normal, I'd probably get a lot more reading done. But I'm planning on getting through another chunk of it still tonight and reading as much of it as I can tomorrow. So the other 2 things that I've been reading through, I've made some more progress on my Riesling anthology, but only a little bit of progress. I'm about halfway now, and have found a couple others I really enjoyed. But like most modern poetry, even in science fiction, fantasy, and horror, they're wildly hit and miss, with a lot more misses than hits. And then the other thing, the other big one that I've been reading is, of course, I, Claudius. And I'm halfway. Last week I was about page 40. I'm halfway. I'm 238. I think it's like 470. And really enjoying it. It's not a fast read, but it's an enjoyable read. And I will probably finish this month. The other book, I forgot to grab it. Those Idiots from Earth. I think I've read another story or 2 out of it. So I'm making a little bit of progress on that. But that one's like the back burner of back burners that I'm working through. But I did read at least 1 story, maybe 2, while I was on that trip too. So I'm going to stop before my voice gives out any further. But thank you for watching. It's always fun to chat about this. I missed it during the hectic weeks, months that I've had. And I know with this 500 book challenge, I'm going to be interacting a lot more with a couple of folks. And I'll probably be making a lot more effort to, at the very least, do this wrap-up video each week. So that I can talk about what I've been reading, and you can get my count. So I'll have it updated down below. The 4 books I've finished, so that we can count together. I'm almost 1% of the way there. And I'm excited for it. So thank you, BookTube.